Hello, everyone. I'm April Williams, Outreach Manager for the Governor's Office of Minority Affairs, and you are watching Candid Conversations. Thank you for joining the show. As you can see, we have a totally new setup here, and we are pretty excited to be broadcasting live from the Governor's Reception Room in Annapolis, Maryland. And you probably can't see off camera here, but I've got the governor's room. His office is right behind us here. So we want to give him a shout out and appreciate all the great work that he's doing here for the state of Maryland, he and the Lieutenant Governor. So a big thanks to Michelle, Yusuf, and Lori. I promised them I'd give them a wonderful shout out on the air for all their support, so we really appreciate them. So now let's get to the show. If you are interested in growing your business beyond borders, this is the show for you. As our community continues to evolve into a global marketplace, opportunities for small businesses to expand beyond borders continue to become much more abundant. And I'm sure many of you can attest to that. I know you, Dottie, can attest to that. Today, our guest is Dottie Li, Managing Director of TransPacific Communications. She's going to help us understand just a little bit more about cross-cultural communications and why it's so important to helping you as a small business achieve global success. Thank you, Dottie, for being on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, April, for having me. It's
Thank
my
you.
honor to be here.
Excellent. So, the first time I heard your story was at MBE University, Montgomery County, and I was actually blown away at your story. And I admit that when I heard that you migrated from China to Mobile, Alabama, if I could pull out my southern accent, I thought to myself, of all the places, why Mobile? Can you tell us just a little bit about your journey, how you got from China to Mobile?
Sure, great question. Thank you. Hi, Mobile. I have to wave at my
Hey,
folks
Mobile.
in Mobile. Well, I was applying for different universities in China. My goal was to come to the US, and I'll talk about my childhood dream in just a bit. But my goal was to come, and so I was a journalist at the time in China and applied for a few schools. At the time, Harvard didn't respond, or Yale
Harvard didn't respond yet.
Well,
What?
anyway, the very next best thing was University of Mobile.
Okay.
They sent me a letter. They accepted me, so I went to Mobile straight from China. So landed in the deep south.
That's the deep south.
That is the deep south.
Yes.
You can't go further than that.
No, you
end up
cannot.
in the Gulf Shores.
Right. So that is a little bit about your journey. So was that a dream of yours as a child to come to the US?
Absolutely. I alluded to earlier, when I was a kid growing up in a journalistic family, we would listen to Voice of America's broadcast.
ABC, right.
VOA.
VOA, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Voice of America's broadcast in Mandarin Chinese. And at the time, I would say, one day I want to become a VOA broadcaster.
Wow.
But in order to do that, I have to actually physically come to the US. So I was determined to come to the US to become a VOA broadcaster. I did that. I realized that childhood dream in 1991 after finishing my education in Mobile, University of Mobile. And first I went through an internship program in Washington, D.C. And then through that internship program, I applied for another internship opportunity at VOA. And through that, they offered me a position. And
Wow.
so I was very grateful that I had the opportunity to achieve my goals and my childhood dream.
So talk about, being able to realize a dream. Now, you also did, kind of a little stint at the White House, correct? Can you tell us just a little bit about what you did there?
Yeah, just a little stint. It was the second term of the Clinton administration, so from the late 90s all the way to early 2000. I was part of a team called the Advanced Team. I was working basically in the country, the U.S., as well as traveling globally for the President and First Lady to advance their trips, be it the G8 summit in Cologne, Germany, or a visit to Bangladesh, or a visit to Iowa and other parts of the world to do, make sure that the President and First Lady's agenda were achieved.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, that definitely seems like it suited your very multicultural background. So that seems like a very perfect fit. So you have a rich culture that you come from, and then you know, then coming here to the U.S. So tell me how that rich culture, that background, that dream as a child that you had, how did that bring you to start Trans-Pacific Communications?
Great question. My goal was when I was a journalist,
Hmm.
both at C-SPAN as a producer, a network television producer, and early on as a Voice of America broadcaster.
Hmm.
My goal was then, and still is till this day, was to be on this side of the fence, so to speak, to be doing communications work, media relations work,
Mm.
and PR work, marketing communications. So I've done that in my communications career, which spanned for about 20 some years,
Hmm.
not to give away my age,
Sure.
but throughout my communications career, I found my true calling. I was a corporation's spokesperson, corporate spokesperson. I was a PR agency executive, and
Mm.
but throughout this many years of communications career,
Hmm.
I found the perfect calling, which is cross-cultural communication, which is
Mm.
where Trans-Pacific Communications was founded with two other people.
Right. It definitely fits you. From the short time that I've known you and your personality, it definitely suits who you are, which I think is a huge key when you're a business owner. You know, you can't be doing something that doesn't suit your personality and suit who you are. So with that said, what are some of the unique challenges that you face, not only coming here to a whole other culture, but also when you started your business?
Well, I think starting a business is a challenge, period. You really have to have a passion in what you're doing and in believing what you're doing. And of course, there are technical challenges and logistical challenges as starting anything. You need to have that entrepreneur spirit.
Mm.
You're going to make sure you're not going to give up. This is what you have to tackle. You have a hurdle. You want to make sure that you could, go over the hurdle. And maybe today's challenge is a little bit different from tomorrow's challenges, but
Right.
you just have to understand what you're facing,
Hmm.
whether it's the communication, whether it's logistics, or it could be something in your own mind. We create a
Hmm.
lot of barriers in our heads, in our minds, and sometimes you got to learn how to overcome those. And I think the other challenges are building networks and
Mm.
finding the people who are like-minded, who are in support of you and in your own networks that
Hmm.
could, advance your agenda or expand your territory, so
Hmm.
to speak.
Hmm. Hmm. So, I'm thinking too that I know that there are probably quite a few businesses that are out there that are looking to grow globally, as you have done very successfully. What are some of the services that your company provides that can help these businesses really grow globally and be able to compete in this global market that we have today?
Great. Thank you for that question. Absolutely. I think in order to reach out globally, and in this day and age, the world's truly getting smaller and
Hmm.
smaller as we speak. And I think there are people, actually, my friends and associates in China are watching, or Australia for that matter.
Mm.
And so in order to get to where you want to be, I think the key is you need to have the understanding and comprehension of other folks and
Mm.
what drives them. And so that's what cross-cultural communication comes to the picture. That's what we do, whether we're helping a U.S. Federal agency, Department of Agriculture or Commerce, or the Army for that matter, or helping a small business here located in Maryland, hoping to go to China or Japan or Vietnam. I think it's the cross-cultural communication
Hmm.
skills that are going to get them ahead of the pack.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so that's what we help people with.
Right, and so you alluded just a little bit to some of your clients. What is the typical client for Trans-Pacific?
Typical clients are two categories. One
Hmm.
is U.S. federal agencies, and as I said, I'm hoping to work with the state of Maryland as well.
Sure.
It's the federal and state entities that we are working with, and we help them with a number of things, but they all are under the umbrella term of cross-cultural communication, such as executive coaching, effective communication through accent reduction and modification, which is one of our trademarks, and power networking across cultures, personal branding, media training, writing, leadership skills, and mentorship, and all that.
So the whole gamut.
The whole gamut, but it's all under cross-cultural communication. Next Tuesday, I'm traveling to NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. That's part of U.S. Commerce Department. I'm going to travel there to Gaithersburg, not too far from here, to conduct a workshop on business etiquette. Now, it's the day-to-day American business etiquette, but the difference between this talk on business etiquette from all the others is that we have added the cross-cultural communication component to it. Because, again, NIST is an agency that's diverse, that has a lot of non-native scientists and non-native researchers and speakers. So we have to make sure we tailor to their needs and challenges.
Right. I mean, and speaking of some of those challenges, you know, obviously, and this is actually one of my favorite parts of this conversation about the cross-cultural communication, are some of those etiquette tips, because you could have the best product, you could be the best business owner out there, but really be brash when it comes to, you know, knowing how to accept a business card from someone from another culture, you know, the Asian Pacific American community or you know, Hispanic community or what have you. What are some tips that you can give us specifically for you know, the Asian Pacific community, you know, when people are accepting business cards and shaking hands and, you know, going out to lunches and so forth? What are some things that just a few little tips that you can provide to some of the business owners that are watching?
Sure. Perfect question that allows me to answer the previous question. The second category of our clientele is corporate, you know, business, which is exactly what you're talking about. And we work with them on the same kind of challenges and issues, but to talk about the etiquette, to give some kind of etiquette tips. If you are working with Asian Americans in general, I think a lot of us, we are taught to be showing our respect to elders and people with authorities. It could be your boss or your boss's boss, and certainly, and of course, even including your children's teachers. These are people who are considered as authoritative figures. So when you meet with these people, you have to really pay deference to these folks. You know, you present your business card, making sure that the card is facing up and toward that person. So when you present it with both hands, yeah, right, showing your respect, and that way people understand, oh, this person is polite, is showing the kind of respect that this person deserves, and that way you're going to win friends and people are more likely to do business with you.
And from what I recall in regards to the business cards is that, you know, like you said, you take them with both hands, but you don't just take them and put them in your back pocket or just put it in your billfold or wherever you keep your business cards. You take them and you actually look at them, you know, look it over, because that's really, you know, a huge sign of respect from what I understand. Is that correct?
Correct. You take the business card as it's presented to you, since it's facing you and it's right there. You take it with both hands, you study it, and once you study it and you make sure you file away in a proper place, maybe a business card case or some other place, you don't just, you know,
just pop it, right,
put it right in your pocket. That, again, it's the detail that matters.
Right, and that's a really good segue, because, you know, our international borders have become bridges. And so, like I said at the top of the show, that it really opens up so many opportunities for global business for these small firms. And so these little small, what you think are, you know, maybe not so big, you know, business cards or shaking hands, but to someone who's looking to actually, you know, bring you on, or if you, someone that you're looking to bring on as a client or a customer, that could be the deciding factor. So how can businesses really prepare themselves? What are some of the things that they can do? Should they maybe try networking in that particular culture that they're looking to do business with? What are some tips that businesses can do to prepare?
Again, a great question. I think, first of all, if you're going to venture into a different culture, a different country, you have to be a student of that particular
Immerse
culture.
yourself, right?
Right. You need to network, you need to study the culture or the language, and I think you need to understand what really makes its people. drives its people. And of course, I think they should just hire us, hire TransPacific Communications, hire Dottie Li to work with them in terms of coaching them how to get involved in this particular country and culture and the type of business in order to expand and win more customers and make sure that your business does take roots, not just the initial, not just the initial meet and greet. And a lot of Asian countries, people do business quite differently than what we do here in the Western world. It's not a one-time only thing. We build that relationships. You have to massage that relationships before people could give you a contract.
That's right. I tell you, one of the things I love about the Asia Pacific community is going out to dinner.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Just the courses. And you really need to come wearing some stretchy pants or something. I just recommend that. I didn't do that the last time. And just, come on an empty stomach. But you really sit there and you get to know the people. My colleague and I, we had such a great time with when we actually did an event a couple months ago, and just the courses, they just, when we thought it was done, they brought out just more. And it was just wonderful because we got a chance to know each other and what some of the issues were. And so to your point, I love that about Asia Pacific community and the Hispanic community, and all my Jamaican friends as well too. It's really all about the food and getting to know the people. So I definitely appreciate that. So what would you say to companies who really fail to prepare, who really think, oh, that's really not anything that I really have to be concerned about, business cards, who cares, I'm going to get the business anyway. What do you say to some of those companies who fail to prepare?
I think they're going to be left behind. That's the bottom line. And when the competitors understand the challenges and really study the issues and the cultures, and they're going to be ahead, they're going to be getting the contracts, and they will be getting the multi-billion-dollar business, and the ones who don't care, the ones who don't prepare themselves will be truly left behind.
Left behind. And I don't think any business owner, wants that. So it just behooves, if you are a small firm, to just do some of those small things to kind of help you prepare if you're looking to, become immersed into another culture other than your own. So I think that's a great point. So now your focus is particularly, the Asia Pacific community, right? So what are some of the techniques that you help this population, with to get them to assimilate without them losing their cultural identity?
Great question. I came when I was in my 20s, and I had to learn a whole new set of rules, whether it's cultural rules or other kinds of rules. So while I'm learning how to adjust and assimilate and to be acculturated, I still have to hang on to my roots and my culture. So I think it's important to always remember where you're coming from and what your heritage is. And I'm teaching my child to learn Mandarin, and I think I have a reputation to keep. After all, I am the voice of Rosetta Stone's Mandarin products. I have to make sure that my kid speaks Mandarin, not just speaking Mandarin, but speaking the perfect Mandarin.
That's amazing. How did that come about that you became the voice of Rosetta Stone Mandarin products?
Well, let's go back to my childhood dream. Remember, I wanted to be a Voice of America broadcaster. I achieved that, but within a short period of time, I realized that that dream was crushed because my audience perhaps was millions of people overseas, including my parents. There are 1.3 billion people in China. They may not be all listening to me at the time, but my parents were, and I felt I didn't have a market here in this society and culture where I could make a difference. So I decided, well, I've achieved my dream, but I wanted to really make a difference as a journalist, make a difference in the society where I live and work and study. So I left the Voice of America to go to C-SPAN as a network television producer. But I said the dream was crushed, but the skills I honed at VOA, my broadcaster's skills were still good. And years later, Rosetta Stone came knocking on my door and asked if I could do this as voice coach of Rosetta Stone's Mandarin products. And guess what? I said yes.
Hmm. So if you're out there learning Mandarin, yeah, she's kind of helping you out. That is pretty awesome. And you just say it so just nonchalantly, but I think that's a really awesome thing and a true testament to, who you are and your skills.
Thank you.
So to kind of transition here as we begin to kind of head to the end, why is this topic of cross-cultural communication, why is it so important, in this business realm?
You can't ignore it. We live
Mm.
in such a diverse world.
Hmm.
The non-native speakers, non-native professionals population in the U.S. alone is 15%. We actually, as America, as a country, we attract the best and the brightest from all over the world, every part of the earth. People come here to work, to seek better opportunities, to build American dream. So we're talking to different folks every day. We work with people from different walks of life, and not just those from Alabama,
Hmm.
hello Mobile,
Mobile.
but also those from Vietnam, from Russia, from you name it, many other countries. So when we deal with folks with different heritage, different cultural backgrounds, we need to understand what makes them tick. And so
Right.
that's why we have to learn cross-cultural communication.
And I think it's not just to, get them to utilize the services of your company, but because, we were talking about this before the broadcast started, is that, it makes our country, that much richer. I recall in college, my last 2 years living off campus, we had a Filipino, had a French Haitian Canadian roommate, another Canadian roommate, one Costa Rican. I was the only American. And can I just tell you, our potlucks were just, for me, it's all about the food. It was always pretty fantastic. And that was that part. But then I got a chance to travel to some of those places, especially Canada, Vancouver, and Montreal, and Toronto, and to really see how other people lived. And it was pretty amazing. And you get to see that, what, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not that important. You are valuable, but we're not more important than anyone else. And I think that, as a business owner, you have to realize that this is an extremely important topic. And and I think it belongs at the foundation of your company, to really understand this topic. So I sat up straight because I'm about to learn something, hopefully.
I will sit up straight too.
Yep, I sat up straight because I want to learn a little Mandarin.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
we got Rosetta Stone right here, right, Stacy? Stacy's behind the camera. So she's kind of waving. I think she's hungry too. We always are. So
I love to eat.
Yes, right here. So I would love to see if you can teach me a few phrases in Mandarin.
Absolutely. No
Miss
cost.
Rosetta Stone.
No cost.
No cost. Okay, good.
What would you like to learn first?
So I'm just kind of pretending like I'm going to a lunch with a potential client, Asia Pacific American client. So what are some greeting phrases that you can teach me that are easy, simple?
Well, speaking of food, we Asians love food.
Yes.
I think that's a thing that unites all folks. because
Absolutely.
That's something that really binds us together. And so even a greeting in Chinese, when you see people, you don't just say hello. I
Right.
mean, hello is fine. That's ni hao, by the way.
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
Okay.
Yeah, ni hao.
I think I knew that.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
I knew that without
know
knowing that.
Yeah, ni
Yeah.
hao. That's
Ni
very
hao.
popular.
Okay,
So
good.
instead of saying ni hao when you see someone on the street, your friend or whoever, you basically ask them, 你吃了吗?
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 Literally, 你吃了吗? 你吃了吗?
Got it.
Literally, that translation is, have you eaten? Well, it doesn't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
It's not about whether you have had your breakfast or lunch or dinner.
It's about the caring.
It's the greeting. It's the exchange of
你吃了吗?
information. 你吃了吗?
Got it.
Yeah. So when you go to a lunch event with a potential customer, I think you have to study the kind of menu, and you
Right.
want to ask the other person what would he or she like.
Right.
你喜欢吃什么?
你喜欢吃什么?
你喜欢
你喜欢
吃什么?
吃什么?
Perfect. Didn't
I'm
you
good,
get a
right? I
A+?
pass. Stacy says
Awesome.
yes.
She does great. So
I'm pretty good with accents.
Yes.
Okay, so we're ending the business meeting, and I'd like to say goodbye. Thank you for your time. right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So how would I say that?
You don't want to say too long, but you want to make sure you're appreciating the person's time and
Right.
efforts, and to say 非常感谢，
Oh, I didn't get that one.
非常感谢，
Okay.
非常感谢。She can do it.
非
非常
常
感谢
感谢。
你的时间，
Okay, say it again.
你的时间。
Okay, that one I can't do, but she did it so well. I don't want to mess that one up.
It's okay. You're fine.
So what's the translation?
It's just, appreciate your time very much.
Oh,
it's
that is
very
awesome.
formal. It's a very formal
Right.
way of saying that.
Right. Well, I love the flow. I love the way ni hao. I love how it just flows, off the tongue. And I think it just adds that extra element, that you studied, that you listened to that Rosetta Stone if you're looking to, bring on a new client that happens to be in this particular culture. I love that.
Can I give myself a plug?
Please
so,
do.
So we do coach a few celebrities and some business owners and senior executives in honing their linguistic skills, in particular the Mandarin, because
Right.
when you have that skill, you do go places. You do
Right.
go to many places that you otherwise wouldn't go.
And clearly
So
she's great with the Mandarin. I'm okay, maybe, but she's pretty good. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And now we are at my favorite segment, rapid fire. And
Okay, I'm ready.
it sounds harsh, but it really is not.
No, you're not harsh. You're
Okay,
fine.
good.
You're
So Dottie, finish this sentence. Being an entrepreneur is.
Being an entrepreneur is creating opportunities, getting together with other folks who are like-minded to make sure more opportunities are going to be created.
Okay. What time of day do you feel most productive?
From mid-morning to about mid-afternoon. That's my most productive time period.
Okay. Where do you find the most peace?
I found the most peace in a couple places. One particular is something I've been doing for about 5 years. That's called boot camp, fitness boot camp.
Oh my.
So when I do work out, I find peace. So that's one place I find peace.
Clearly it's working.
Thank you.
Coffee or tea?
Tea. Have you heard of a book called All the Teas in China?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to check that out.
That explains it.
Okay. What does your ideal day look like?
An ideal day would look like starting in the morning with finishing up all my Twitter scheduling. I tweet a lot. I found a good platform to get the messages out, but I usually schedule my tweets ahead of time. Who has time to sit at a computer or on your smartphone to tweet all day?
Right.
Occasionally I will live tweet, but so we'll start off with scheduling all my tweets, and then I'll go off to do some training and speaking engagements, whether it's at a U.S. Federal agency or at a corporation, or going to a conference or convention to make a keynote speech, and that would be my perfect day. And at the end of the evening, I'll go to my fitness boot camp to work out.
I do want to say it is very smart to schedule those tweets ahead of time. What animal best describes your company?
I would say the horse.
Okay. And the last question, if you could do anything else, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. If I could do it, which means I don't have the skill sets to do it, I would love to be an opera singer one day, but probably not going to happen in this lifetime. Stage.
You never know. I mean, you're the voice of Rosetta Stone Mandarin products, so you just never know.
It's a different set of vocal cords.
Different set of vocal cords.
Definitely.
Got it.
Yeah. I don't have the singing chops yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
I could help you with that.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's a deal.
Off air.
All right.
Yeah. Dottie Li, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. To connect with Dottie Li, go to our Twitter account. I've put her web address up there as well as her Twitter. You will want to connect with her to expand your company. You can go to our Twitter account at MDGOMA. And you know what? We'll see you right back here next month. Thank you for joining us today on Candid Conversations.